Mangkaja is a space that is a community hub. It's where everybody comes to tell stories and to share, and artists are playing with really incredibly old and important stories, but in all sorts of new and different ways and new mediums, and I think that's pretty exciting for everybody. I'm Belinda Cook, manager here at Mangkaja Art Studio in Fitzroy Crossing. The project is for the National. We were selected by the curator Clotilde Bullen to include a collective group of women from Mangkaja, which includes Sonia, Kurarra, Daisy Jupulija, Rawlins and Mrs Yule, who's just passed away. And the project is for them to continue their practice with perspex, but to do it on a much larger scale. So Sonia and Daisy are sisters from Nookamba Station, is basically where they grew up, out on the river there. They're both Walmatjari women, but Riverside Walmatjari women, so that's one of our language groups. And they celebrate the billabongs and the river country. They're both obsessed with that. They used to fish every day. They used to swim in that river. It's beautiful country. And Sonia just continually paints that story. So that's her story, and her sister paints the billabongs of that country. Nada Rawlins is a really gorgeous senior woman from Wonkajonka, Walmatjari way. So she's a great sandy desert woman, and her country is reflected in the mapping sort of style and mapping country, mapping landscape. She does big, beautiful strokes and showcases the long expanses of those country areas. And Mrs Yule paints, she's a desert woman and paints the desert trees. The Jurajari trees and the Kurkapi trees, which are desert trees out in the Great Sandy, which people used to sit under. And so she repetitively paints the symbols of those trees onto her work, and we're hoping to still include her work posthumously in this show to celebrate and honour her contribution to the perspex development and her lifetime of work.
The perspex, we developed it because a lot of the older artists will sit down to paint, and with the way canvas painting works, you know, your first mark will get obscured. If you keep painting on the same surface, you'll lose those first marks. The perspex allows, especially in this way, because they'll be suspended from the ceiling, and you'll be able to walk around and you'll be able to see both sides. So those first marks remain the first marks. So I think that that's kind of the beauty of the medium. I think, yeah, it's the layers, it's the repetition, that daily rhythm. You know, the way using your hands to dig or to, you know, to pound flour, or, you know, the footprints, tracking animals. It's the repetition, and then that translates also into cultural practices where songs will be sung, repeated over and over. That's the significance of it too. Yeah, that the repetition of something gives it its importance.
This kind of platform is pretty rare to access for us. It's not only a national platform, but it's contemporary art, not just Indigenous. So it's pitting them alongside the best contemporary artists in the country. It's a really great vehicle for telling those traditional stories and reinforcing culture, but also taking it to another level of communication and sharing, and I guess you could say it's contributing to that understanding nationally of what Indigenous culture is, and that it's still very much alive and well, and it's moving with the times.
Banjuro kana ya le banjuro